Welcome to the Character Sheet, comic book's official home for all things tabletop and fantasy. I am Christian Hoffer, and today I am joined by some very special guests to talk about a very special project. I am talking to Mayanna Berrin and Saige Ryan of Pixel Circus, and we're here to talk about Sunday Spy Club, which is a new actual play. So let's start with the obvious question. What is Sunday Spy Club?
Yeah, Sunday Spy Club is a 4-episode miniseries on Pixel Circus. We like to do these kind of short-run shows and play in really heavily thematic and genre content. It is about 4 college best friends that decide to start their very own spy club and get thrust into the world of real espionage. They get challenged by our lovely GM Mica Burton with becoming real spies, and it premieres on YouTube on July 21st with a special preview on the front page of Twitch on July 14th.
When I saw the trailer for Sunday Spy Club, I immediately went, "Oh God, they're making Totally Spies." So in addition to Totally Spies, which I'm assuming was one of the influences.
Oh, the main one, absolutely.
Okay, thank God. I'm not getting gaslit by the spy suits. What are some of the other influences that you drew from when making this?
I would love to throw that to Mayanna.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. The comps were Miss Congeniality, Legally Blonde,
Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels. Yeah. I love a kitschy spy thing. They're so fun. Like, you can get so playful with it. And then we get a little serious, but mostly silly, which is very, very delightful.
That's the perfect type of spy.
Absolutely.
I think the influences came through so well, and it was so much fun. We did a session 0 where we literally just brought a bunch of pillows and blankets. We reset the entire stage of it to make a living room set in the middle of my studio. And we had a slumber party themed session 0 where we watched pieces of inspiration from it. We built our characters together. We had just a very legitimate girls' night. And I think that the whole show feels like a Y2K nostalgic slumber party because of it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that because, you guys released in the marketing material, you released instead of doing the usual press release, you released a Y2K themed girls magazine.
Iconic. It was that's all Saige. Insane.
So why did you decide on the Y2K aesthetic?
So this whole show came together from an idea and a Pinterest board, honestly, which is how a lot of our show concepts come together. Is I have a general concept that sits in my notes app for 4 months, and then I harass people into doing it with me. And I had built out such a Pinterest board because I love Y2K nostalgia. That's my childhood. I love Totally Spies. And so many of the things that I had just pinned to that board were these J14 Tiger Beat teen magazines. And when we have kind of a twofold with the character sheets. One, we're not usually a channel that releases full character sheets, especially when you have a table of all women. It can be important to us that people aren't bothering and backseat gaming too heavily with our players because we are a rule of cool channel at the end of the day. We are playing Dungeons and Dragons, a fantasy system, and completely reskinning it as a techie spy world. So with that, there's a lot of looseness on kind of how those rules work. So when we were thinking about how to release the character sheets, I wanted to do something that wasn't just the kind of here's our character sheet for you to scrutinize, and instead well, let me tell you about the characters because their vibe is more important than their spell list. So I took a bunch of inspiration from actual teen magazines, and we had just captured the perfect moments at the photo shoot for them. I was looking through our photo shoot and I was like, these look like
it's giving Delia's catalog in the best way.
It is. The photos just we're giving it so correctly that I felt like we had to.
Let's talk about the photo shoot. One of the things that I always appreciate about Pixel Circus Productions is that you guys, just dive in deep. I can think of several of your past series. And now I'm feeling bad because the pirate series that you guys
Salt
did.
and Serpent, yeah.
Yes, you guys did this amazing photo shoot that just basically sold the so well before there was even a clip out there. So I guess my question is, why are you don't see a lot of actual plays do photo shoots like that, so why is that one of the things that you kind of pin your hat on, and how do you keep those interesting?
Yeah, there's kind of twofold to why we do our photo shoots. One is that I make all of our marketing materials myself. And I got really tired of making like graphics for things. I'm not a graphic designer. Like everything I do at Pixel Circus is learned out of necessity for the most part. So it was like I was at my wit's end with like how many social graphics I can look and how to make them look different and unique. That doesn't just look like another like here's 6 heads in a box, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it shows for us, we're so excited to be in person in production. We started on Zoom. We were a Zoom channel for 2.5 years before we ever had the opportunity to be in person. And we're so excited to all be in the same room as each other and be able to produce in-person actual play that I think a photo shoot kind of stands out in the timeline to let you know that this is like a high-end production because we put a lot of work behind our looks of all of our productions, and B, that we're all going to be in the same room and we can hug.
Hugging is very important in actual play.
It is.
I wanted to change topics just a little bit because I have a couple questions about, Sunday Spy Club is a 5e game. This is, and I'm kind of curious, how does one run a 5e spy game?
Ooh, great question. When I run one, I'll let you know. Just kidding. I think one of the things that was interesting in the session 0, especially is as we were watching episodes of Totally Spies, is a lot of the things that spies do can be reskinned from 5e spells already, like spider climb, disguise self, charm person. Like I recently rewatched all the Ocean's 11 movies as well, and there's just like the tools and the vibes, I feel like they translate actually quite cohesively together. So it actually didn't really feel super alien to go like spider climb is now just like a thing your boots can do. It's not like a spell that's being channeled by some divine being. It's just like you can climb up walls now. That's a thing you can do.
It felt really easy as a player, honestly. Like I think too, we've played a lot of other systems like Salt and Serpent you reference is on the Chaosium based system. So
Yeah.
we're definitely not an exclusively D&D channel, but we know D&D so well so that when you get in that world where it's like, we know we're making stuff up, right? Off the top of my head, I know the D&D spell list so well that when I want to do something spy-y and I want to like make it really in world, I know what I can like revamp and like what spell I can pull for that just by being kind of like encyclopedic about the system.
Mm-hmm.
And, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you pick out spells like in advance? Like, okay, this one is a good spell that's good to use with this type of story that we're telling.
I think, because I think you guys set up your spells and then each of the girls gets a special thing, an item that it gives them an additional spy ability. That was just a different reskin, which is like magic missile becomes a projectile, like all those things. But everybody got like one extra special bonus thing as well, which was really fun.
We released on it what our classes were, and we did play the classes pretty traditionally in the way that they were built in like selecting your spells, resetting your spells on a long rest if it applies to that, spellcasting class. I believe we had a bard, a wizard. Mayanna, do you remember what the other classes were?
A paladin, a warlock, a bard, and I think it was artificer, or maybe it became wizard. I think
you're right. Yeah, it became wizard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we played a lot of magical classes, but we played them pretty traditionally in like when your spells are selected, when your spells would reset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about the characters of the freaking show. Like, we haven't even touched on that. Who else is in this besides you two?
We have the most incredible cast.
It really was. It was a dream cast.
I'm like, I don't know if you want to take that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mica, Krystina, Saige, and Mica, Krystina.
Me and Becca.
Saige and Becca. Yeah. That's all the names. And they were just fabulous. I mean, from the session 0, I think everybody brought a lot of passion and everybody had really clear ideas, I think, of what character they wanted to play pretty much out the gate. And when we did the session 0, everybody locked in very quickly. Like there was a little scene that I had them go through and I sort of asked them like, what does it take to be in the spy club? And they all gave like 1-word answers that I think really well encapsulated each of their characters' personalities pretty much out the gate. So yeah, it was such a beautiful, cohesive cast. And there's some fun flirty romance. There's some fun little player chemistry things, and the interplay and the dynamics, which honestly, like, that was just the players running away with it. Like, they really came up with just a very wonderful shared language with each other of how that friendship manifested, what their shared backstory was, which honestly I feel like they kind of started to come up with on the fly as who's like my kind of proxy GM character, started to get to know them better, of like, they've been childhood friends for so long. And so they have a lot of history that they sort of started to build and weave in together very beautifully and very effortlessly, I would say. It made my job very, very easy.
We also had a very easy time because of Mayanna, truly and honestly. It really was one of the most supportive tables I have ever played at and with, all around. And like, I love having all femme tables. It feels like such a special experience. And we knew that like we wanted this show to represent girlhood. And when I built my little, like, I built myself my little pitch deck after my Pinterest board, this was my dream cast. These were the women that I put down on it. And we were like, okay, well, you know, if everyone's schedules line up and if we can make it happen and if we can get it, all of these. But I made this deck for it probably almost a year ago at this
That's
point.
crazy.
And it took us a while, you know, we had other productions in front of it and stuff that had to move down the line, and lining up everyone's schedules. We delayed the production of this by a good little bit just to make it happen, to get the cast that we wanted, because I saw everyone's pictures together. And like, having played with all of these people in kind of different contexts and on different shows, I was like, this is it. And it's going to be magic if we can make it happen. And this is Mica Burton's first time on the channel. Mica is incredible.
Oh my gosh,
wonderful, and
amazing.
brought so much fun to it. And we were so glad to have her. Becca Scott and I have been playing together for years.
She was amazing.
Yeah. And
Everyone's amazing.
yeah. And Krystina Arielle is obviously just like a notoriously brilliant, fabulous human in the space that we've played with many times. And when it all kind of came together, you're swapping out the pictures and you're putting all of your friends in and you're like, I want everybody to come and play with us. It was just like, oh, this is it. And I really think that it was like, they brought it so hard.
They really did. It was incredible.
When the cast got together for the first time and started like fleshing out their characters, was there any sort of like overlap of deciding like who was going to play like what sort of archetype within the game?
I feel like no. I feel like everybody kind of just like they all sort of had a nicely diverse but also complementary thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Saige. I feel like everybody kind of was like, yeah, there wasn't really any overlap. Like, we had our sporty, we had our hustler, we had our like sweet rich girl, and we had our sweet tech nerd. Like, it was great.
It really did all kind of like land in its own spot. And there was never a like, oh, if you want to do that, then I'll do this. We're all people who didn't really bring a character to the session zero because we all wanted to be the person who's like, well, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Like, I'm happy to fill. I'll play whatever. And it all really came together when we were together. But also, Mayanna and I had a conversation like the week or two leading up to it. And we were making kind of like little predictions on what archetype people were going to play. And I think the only one that surprised me was Becca. Because we were talking about this kind of like queer and flirty game. And I was like, oh, like Becca and I have been playing like queer flirty duos for our entire TTRPG life. And Becca brought this like incredibly sweet and like wholesome nerdy character that tied this whole group together. Yeah. And like her just like authenticity and like, she's just such a sweet baby girl.
She's a live wire. She was just so excitable and so in it. Yeah. And I think that really tied it all together. Yeah.
Talking about the queer subtext for a second, one of the things I thought that was really interesting, just looking back at like Y2K type stuff, the subtext was there, but was often very subtle. Yeah. And, very subtle. But
gal pals.
Yeah. Lots of just gals being pals.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on, because, like Pixel Circus in general is, such a, it's such a queer friendly space, and, kind of getting to recontextualize like Y2K, stuff and getting to bring out the queerness. Was that like a deliberate approach there, or is that just because, that's the type of games that you run?
I feel like it's a predominantly queer table.
It is.
And I'm bisexual, and I think like in general, I think that one, a realm of fantasy, you would assume that most sexualities would be represented in some form. So to me, it kind of, it feels like it's not an afterthought, but it's just like, oh, of course, obviously, everybody is welcome here. Tee-hee, right this way, your table is waiting. So I think, we talked about player romance and checked in with everybody's comfort levels with that, which, and I think that guided it a lot. But what was also interesting is like Totally Spies as a show is a very like heterosexual show. The girls are super boy crazy, but it's like in that sort of celebratory way that I think femme-focused content can be about girls who like boys, but they're also girls who like other things too.
Yeah.
So it was fun to get to play with that as well, of like there are characters who I think we thought that they were going to end up being queer, but then they had a guy character that they liked, and that was just as fun and lovely to play out. And it's fun, I think, as a queer woman to figure out what a straight man in a queer story represents and what kind of straight man in a queer story is like, like female gaze or whatever we want to call it, of just like a man written by a woman, like someone who encapsulates a lot of attributes that are attractive to a woman and make her feel safe and make her feel seen. So that was very fun to explore as well, and get to play out with this cast.
I think too, even when we reference a lot of like things that were technically heterosexual on television, our experience with them was not.
No.
And I think that when I think about like a lot of the properties that I am nostalgic for and the like girly pop kind of things that we're referencing, like I had a very queer experience with them, like the bisexual question of do I want to be them or be with them your whole life is like looking back at all of the like Y2K girls that you were obsessed with and being like, what type of love did I have for Baby Spice?
Chigo,
right?
Yeah.
Totally Spies and H2O, and it's like all of these things that were so girlhood coded. I think a lot of the time I don't even remember them as straight as they were. And then go back and watch them, you're like, oh yeah, I was just having very gay feelings about them. That's all. So yeah, it is It comes very naturally, but also as a channel, it is incredibly important to us to tell queer stories. We are an entirely queer-run channel, and for us, it feels just like an underserved and underrepresented part of the tabletop RPG audience, and that we have like a really wonderful opportunity to share the kind of stories that like I wish we had. When we look back at these genres. Pirates is so gay, obviously. We leaned into pirates being gay, and we're not the first gay pirates of it when we did Salt and Serpent. But like, we tend to dive into worlds where we go like, well, what can we show that's unique here? And what can we play in? Salt and Serpent was created based on like, well, what is a setting where women get to be alone together? Right. So like a pirate ship was 4 women alone together out in the sea and the beautiful bonds that they create. And this was like, this is the deep levels of complicated friendship between 4 women that also, when you have queer friendships, there's all of these kind of like beautifully blurred lines sometimes between like what is platonic love and romantic love and the way that women get to experience that kind of spectrum of it. And this felt like a great opportunity to do that.
Oh, yeah. And it's like presumed a lot of the time that women get to have closer friendships that are purely platonic. And, like, again, gal pals, like we take for granted, it's like you're spending so much time with these people, you're sleeping over at each other's houses, you're talking about kissing, like, and none of it's romantic. All right. I'll take your word for it. Sure. Why not? Yeah. That sounds above board to me. Yeah, definitely.
You've just recontextualized every girl sleepover ever.
Yeah.
I'm the first person to call that one
I know.
out. Groundbreaking. Florals for spring. My God. We're breaking barriers over here. My God.
It's funny because several of my childhood friends who have since come out, two of them who have come out either as bisexual or lesbian, they were both huge Kim Possible fans.
That is,
and it's like it's
a pipeline.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally Spies, Kim Possible, H2O, Zoe 101, I would say too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man.
Which was also a reference point for the show, oddly enough. It was a reference point for the college.
For the school.
Okay.
we really dove into our childhoods here.
I mean, I really wanted to go to that school, a boarding school in California by the beach. My goodness. No uniforms? Come on.
No parents, no uniforms?
No parents, no uniforms?
Very normal boarding school.
Weird phones? Oh, yeah, such a normal boarding school. A very regular school that definitely existed.
Two more questions. Question number one: we've talked a lot about a lot about the show. We haven't talked about what the Spy Club is actually facing. What sort of threats do they come up against over the course of these 4 episodes?
There's Faces, which is mentioned in the trailer, the Fletcher Academic Collective Excellence Society, and there's some intrigue about like who can we trust, and ultimately, I think because friendship is at the core of the story, within themselves, they trust each other, but there's little threads that start to pull at that of like who is maybe falling for some false hope, some different things like that, but I won't say in what way. But I think, there's drones, there's agents, there's lots of robots. I like, I'm trying to discover sort of like what my brand as a GM is. And I think I'm the weird little guy's GM. So there's a lot of things that talk that shouldn't. There's lots of little robots and I personify the dark web at a certain point as just like this little grungy creature man. So I think the threats are robots, intrigue, distrust, and also maybe lava. Who knows?
Maybe a little bit of lava.
Maybe, we don't know.
Just a splash, just for flavor.
It's like a classic spy story, but also a classic TTRPG story in that like 4 normal people are presented the opportunity to be heroes and then have to learn what that means. Whatever your idea of being a hero was when you're just like, a 19, 20-year-old girl in college that like loves the idea of being a spy and figuring out kind of like what is good, what is bad, who is being honest with you, who can you trust, and
what are you responsible for?
What do you, with great power, all that kind of stuff. And it ties the two kind of like of the fantasy of tabletop role-playing games or D&D specifically and the spy genre together. Mayanna did so brilliantly.
Y'all are too kind to me. I appreciate it.
Barely enough.
Now, assuming that everyone survives these 4 episodes of Sunday Spy Club, last question: will there be more Sunday Spy Club in the future beyond this 4-episode arc?
There could be. We don't know. And like, I can be really honest in saying we actually genuinely don't know. We love to run these little kind of like mini series that are easily digestible for people. I know that role-playing series can be really overwhelming for a lot of viewers, and like having a million episodes that are, 3 to 4 hours long and not knowing where to start. These 4-episode series feel like a really good opportunity to welcome new folks into our community. And we always kind of leave it in like, this is for the people. It's theirs now. And based on how they interact with it and receive it, if it seems like the right thing for there to be more, the door is open for that.
Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Oh my God, this was like such a joy to work on and was so fun. And I learned so much and I got to laugh a lot. And I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to work with these lovely people and lovely players. So I'm happy to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's it. I am coming away from this so incredibly grateful for like the wonderful group of women that we got to work with. It was one of my favorite experiences I'm going to take with me for a very long time. And I hope everybody enjoys it. I hope you have fun playing in our kind of like nostalgia and girlhood and excitement and ridiculousness.
Pop some popcorn, eat some red vines, and watch Sunday Spy Club.
Well, I think that's the best. I think that's the best pitch yet. You can check out Sunday Spy Club. It will air on YouTube, on Pixel Circus's YouTube, starting later this month, and there will be a special preview over on Twitch. That's next week, right?
It is. Yep, it's this coming Sunday.
Oh God, that's 4 days away.
Yeah, oh my God, and people are gonna freak out. It's gonna go. The first episode's gonna air on Twitch, and then there's gonna be no VOD from it. Because we want people to suffer. No, you got to wait it out. You're there for either the preview event or you wait until the 21st.
Well, there you have it. So check it out this Sunday if you want to get an early sneak peek. If not, you can watch the episodes on YouTube, which can't complain about YouTube too much since we're on YouTube. But
no, love it.
And also,
fan.
be sure to check out Pixel Circus's other programming. They put out a lot of great stuff. So be sure to check out all of that too. Well, thank you very much for coming on to the show. We very much appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, until next time, thanks for watching.